How's it going? So I wanted to do a quick video on just some basic maintenance and what's going on in here, so you have at least an idea of what's going on with your system if you ever need to service it. So the first thing we got here, this is your main fuse. This is going to be the fuse for the whole system. This is a MRBF fuse. It's a 300 amp fuse, and it's just called a MRBF post fuse. And I got a couple extras here. If you ever need them, you pop them off the zip tie, turn off the system, and you pop these off and you just drop it back on there. So they're real easy. They're kind of like a T-fuse, but they're just at the terminal. So if you ever need extras, you can always buy them online too on Amazon. So that's the main. This is the solar wiring. So you got two wires here, one straight from the solar. So this is the solar charge controller. So the roof solar panels come through this switch. This is the switch from the panels to the controller. So pretty much you'll just leave that on, and then it goes to the solar controller here, and then goes out to this resettable breaker here, and then this one goes to around straight to the battery. So this is directly connected to the battery. So if you put this in storage, you'll have the main switch here in the back, you'll see, and it'll just always be on. So basically this will always be on unless you're really working on it. So if you follow the main two cables, I got main positive, main negative labeled here. It goes straight to the links distribution deal, and this is just an extension of your battery bank. So this is the main power switch for the whole system. So if you turn this off, it'll turn off absolutely everything except your battery monitor right here and your solar. So it'll turn off everything. So when you're in storage, just turn that off. Solar is going to keep it charged, and it'll be just fine. Now this switch here is after that switch, so I mean you can just leave this one on for the most part, and you can use this one as the main instead, because this will override that one. So then you also got your battery monitor here. This is the Bluetooth monitor, so even with that switch off, it'll always be on Bluetooth, so you can see it. Now behind this cover, you got two posts, and basically all your different components connecting here to the positive and the negative. So we added you a light here. Just because there's no light, and there's like a little fuse on it right here. So if you ever got to mess with anything or add anything to the battery, you can pop off the cover. This is your hydraulic pump. This is the wiring that goes to the hydraulic pump. So I tried to label everything that I saw, so at least you know what's going to what. This is your generator wire. This is the fuse for the gen. So if that ever blows, that's where the gen fuse is. And over here, this is the hydraulic pump resettable breaker. So if that ever trips, that's your hydraulic pump there. So I labeled that pump because they didn't label it from the factory. So I'll try to make it to where you can at least know what's going on if you have some kind of issues. Another thing you can just keep an eye on is this Servo GX down here. This is how all the components talk to that touchscreen monitor. So we glue all these little wires in, so that way it doesn't come out when they're vibrating down the road, because sometimes they do come loose. So just make sure those are always plugged in. Here's the fuse. This is for this little plug-in deal in the front, so we just left this all in place. That way it's all the same there, and there's the fuse for it, and there's the other little deal for it. So that's kind of all the same. We didn't mess with none of that. So yeah, that's most of the part here. There's not much to do other than unless you have some kind of issues. Looking at the top here, we kind of went over these switches. The first one's you just whatever it was powering before. The bottom one's going to override it, and the solar one you just keep on. So this is your inverter for the most part. You just want to have this part on all the time. There's a little switch under there. It's hard to even access, but you just have it on all the time. That way the touch screen is going to override it, so make sure that's always on. So moving on to the inside, I'll give you a quick rundown of this. So first of all, we got this little pin. This is how you can use the touch screen. You can also use your finger, but this little pin is cool. So the main thing you're gonna look at, there's different stuff on this screen. It tells you what the inverter is doing, your AC loads, your DC loads, like your fridge is running right now, and all your lights. This is your battery stats, so it tells you how much time you got left on battery. It tells you if you're discharging or charging. Right now we're using power because it's negative numbers. This will tell you the solar yield as well once we pull out in the sun. The main thing you have to do with this, though, the only thing is to turn the inverter on and off. So this is how you turn it on and off. They also have charger only and inverter only, but for the most part, you just turn it on or off, and it's automatic. It'll do what it's supposed to. This is how you set the shore power limit. So when you're running a generator or you're plugged on shore power, just always set this to whatever, you know, you're plugged into. Relay, there's nothing connected to that, so don't worry about that there. Yeah, and then this is how you can look at your propane tank sensors, these Mopica tank sensors. And then here you can look at the settings. This is how you get to Wi-Fi. So if you want to connect it to the internet and we can watch your system anywhere with you, connect it to whatever your hotspot is, and you can just click it, hit the password, and then once you hit it once you connect it, it'll automatically connect in the future. So we can always keep up with you anytime you got internet and see how your system's performing.